Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be learning about methods. After careful consideration, I finally landed on making a video about methods. My other ideas were the static keyword or maybe access modifiers, but I'm trying to build knowledge based on other knowledge from my previous videos, and methods best suits that need. So let's get into this video. So to create a method, or actually, before we get into that, what is a method? Well, actually, let's just delete all of this from last video, just so that it's easier to see. This, in itself, is actually a method. A method is simply like a container, just like a variable, but instead of containing values or strings, etc., it contains multiple lines of code. So, a method would be like public static void. This is a method, and then we have the curly braces. Now, first thing we put down when we create a method is the access modifier. Now, when I said I was going to create a separate video on access modifiers, I'm talking about when it comes to variables, and I'm going to go more in depth. But basically, there are three access modifiers: public, private, and protected. Let's just stick with public. We're not going to learn the others. So first we say how we're going to access the method. So, or the access modifier. We're just going to set it to public. Don't worry about that yet. Then we put in whether it's static or not static. We're going to learn about this later. The problem with creating videos about these is because they rely on other things which we haven't learned about yet, and this method is the simplest one and the most used, what do I call it? Most used concept in Java, or between the three. So then we say whether it's static or not static. When we say it's not static, we just do that without the static keyword, but let's just leave static there. And then we have what is it exactly? Well, unlike a variable where we put the type at the beginning, this void is basically the type. Void just means like it's going to execute, but we'll get into that later with setters and getters in a different video. So you just have to type out these three things, or without this, depending on what kind of project you're making. But for this tutorial, just say public static void. This is a method, and then of course this is the name, and then these are the parentheses that have parameters. However, we haven't learned about parameters, so let's not get into that yet. So this is a method, and we can put code in here just like we would put code in this method, in this main method. However, you can see it's highlighted gray. If we hover our mouse over it, it says method is never used, which is true. It's never called. So let's just print out Roger from here. Wait, let's just name this method, or let's name this respond. This from we can call this method, talk. Roger from this method. And now if we run it, you can see that, oh look, nothing is printed in the terminal. Why is that? Well, we've told it to print something out, right? So why isn't it printing? Well, that's because we need to call this method. So this is the main method. When you first run the program, the only thing that is ran is this single method called the main method. And from here, we need to call other methods. So I'm going to call talk. Just like that. You call it by typing in the name and then parentheses and put any parameters in it, but we haven't learned about parameters, and there are no parameters, so let's not talk about that yet, and then finish it off with a semicolon. Now let's run it, and you can see that it runs system.out.print Roger from this method. And we can create another one, public static void talking again, and we can say, we can create, like a little chain saying, whoops, sorry, and we can create a little chain saying talking again, call this method, and then print out I'm talking again. Whoops, I didn't mean to press that button, but let's run it, sorry. It says Roger Roger from this method, I'm talking again, because from the main method, we just called talk, and within talk, it says to print out Roger Roger from this method, but it also tells it to call talking again, and talking again just prints out I'm talking again. And that's methods. That's very simple methods. Methods, you can look at them as containers. And I'll create a separate video. Actually, my next video is going to be about the hierarchy of containers, just so that, because we've finally finished what most containers are, so, yeah, alright. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something. Any questions, put them in the comment section below. I'll be sure to get back to you, but, that's all. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.